Welcome, welcome to the virtual Meet the Candidates Town Hall, hosted by the Warner Robins Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. My name is Tanya Simmons Lee, and I'm a member of the Warner Robins Alumni chapter. I have participated in the Social Action, Political Awareness, and Involvement Committee. With over 300,000 initiated members, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority is a nonpartisan organization committed to public service in local and global communities. Our national president is Elsie Cook Holmes. Now I'd like for you to help me welcome Tucker Sargent, 41 NBC anchor, as my co-moderator.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons Lee. Voting is extremely important. We're glad you joined us for this voter education forum. So you can learn more about your local candidates running for Houston County Commissioner Post 2 and Post 4. My name is Tucker Sargent. It is an honor to take part in this town hall, and thank you to the Warner Robins Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for hosting this event. We, of course, hear so much about national and state level elections and candidates, but voters also need to be informed and aware about their local elections, and hopefully this town hall tonight will help that. So let's meet our Post 2 candidates now. And thank you again for joining us. Within a 1-minute time limit, our candidates, I should say, Shane Gottwall, Zachary Ivester, and Steve Williams. So within a 1-minute time limit, share brief information about yourself, your vision, and why you decided to run for this position. We'll start with Mr. Gottwalls, then Mr. Ivester, and then Mr. Williams.
Well, thank all of you for having us and hosting this. This is quite a professionally run and professionally organized event, so I appreciate y'all having me here. But yeah, I mean, just real quickly, I mean, I'm born and raised in Middle Georgia. Of course, our family business that our name is really, I guess, known for is Gottwall's Books. It started as a really small store in Warner Robins and expanded into Byron, then Macon and Perry, and then now we have 18 stores nationwide. So, you know, if I've learned anything, it's in management, it's in being a business owner, and being a CEO and owner is just it's raised some challenges, and it's been a hard road to hoe, but it's been a lot of fun. And I just feel like these skills that I've gained are perfectly suited, I would think, to what a commissioner does. I mean, it's a lot of money they handle. There's a lot of oversight. There's a lot of just dealing with staffing, employees. There's just a lot of important roles that I feel like I'm uniquely qualified for. And I feel like I have a debt to owe that I owe to this community, and I want to give back in this very special way. So again, thank you for having me here.
Well, my name is Zachary Ivester, and I always like to begin things by saying, hey, thank you for hosting this event. It's very professional, put on. And thank you to both moderators for being so respectful to all candidates and inviting us all here. So thank you. And I also like to always address the elephant in the room. I am the youngest candidate on the ticket at 22 years old, and I think that's very exciting to the citizens of Houston County. They're seeing the next generation of leaders come forward and step forward and want to be able to serve the citizens of Houston County, which is home to 164,000 people. And to me, that's 164,000 people that have a story that's worth being shared and applied to Georgia's most progressive county. Now, a little bit about me. I was born and raised right here in Houston County. My granny is a Watson, so Watson Road is named after her beloved family. Where the DJ Galaxy, now where the Badcock Furniture now stands, that is where her farm was. And then where Publix was on Russell, that was my old Aunt Thelma's farm. So I always tell people, I might be 22, but my blood roots run deep down here in Houston County, and I don't plan on going anywhere. This is home, and I plan on making a family here in Houston County. I'm also a PVSA award recipient, which is the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, which is just acknowledges from the presidential administration for someone that's bringing positive change throughout the community. And that's something I believe that the Board of Commissioners needs. It's just someone that's willing to bring forth positive change. And I'll kind of go into more depth of what I want to address.
Hello, my name is Steve Williams, and I'm honored to run for the County Commissioner Post 2 position. And it's been a great and enjoyable time for me. My wife and I, Teresa, we've lived here in Warner Robins for 28 years. Teresa's been here actually 41 years. She retired from Robins Air Force Base I spent over 35 years in the banking industry, and we have 3 children and 2 grandsons. We attend Sacred Heart Church, and I guess one of the things that people continue to ask, well, why you wanted to run? But I can't say that I really had an idea that I want to be a county commissioner. I've always served on a lot of organizations. We've always overseen a lot of budgets with those organizations, whether they're state, local, or regional, and still continue to do that today. But one day I was approached about this. I woke up, went to bed that night, didn't think more about it. Woke up, read a few devotionals that I do first thing in the morning, and they were talking about people God has chose to do things that they really didn't want to do, but it was for the greater good. And that's when I made my decision. It's time. And I didn't choose it. He chose me. And I decided that's what I was going to do with my life. I was going to serve this county. I'm going to give them everything I've gained from business, banking, and serving with all these organizations. And I'm willing to do that for the citizens of Houston County.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Tim Riley, the 4th candidate for 1 minute time limit to explain just a brief bio about yourself, why you're running.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for inviting me. I am a proud Delta Sigma Theta sweetheart. Just a little side note. I got my bachelor's degree from Mercer University. I got my master's degree from Georgia State University, and I got my doctorate from Clark Atlanta University. I had retired as a professional mental health counselor and had moved away to Hawaii. And when COVID hit, my family got sick and I was thousands of miles away, and I said, I need to get home to take care of family. So that's why I'm here. I've been politically active for many years. I spent 1 term as the assistant commissioner for DeKalb County up in the metro Atlanta area. I also was vice mayor of Waianae, Hawaii. I was elected and reelected, and that's what I did just prior to coming back to Georgia. I have an open door policy, and I'm more than happy to listen to anybody's complaints, anybody's suggestions, and I'm happy to be here today. This was the first time since the race has started that I was actually invited. Everybody seems to forget this guy. And Zachary's the youngest. I'm the senior member. So let's not forget the old guys. Thanks a lot. And it's been a pleasure. And I can't wait for you to get to know me and me to get to know you.
All right. Thank you all for your answers. And now we'll meet the candidates for County Commissioner Post 4. And those are Jackie Rozier and Talton. Within a 1 minute time limit, please share brief information about yourself, your vision, and why you decided to run for this position. We'll start with Mrs. Rozier and then Mr. Talton.
First, I'd like to give honor to Jesus Christ, who's the author and finisher of my faith. And thank you to WMGT and Warner Robins Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta for the forum. When I'm elected as a post 4 county commissioner, I am your servant. Therefore, I'm Jacqueline Rozier, and I will donate any commissioner salary or pay to Houston County community, to Houston County charities, churches, and nonprofits. I am a U.S. Air Force Vietnam era veteran who came to Houston County over 47 years ago. I'm also a retired Air Force, Robins Air Force Base civilian retiree with about 33 total years of service to our nation. I've been married to my husband, Johnny, for the last 46 years. While I was in the military, I completed my Bachelor of Business Administration degree, and I have 2 master's degrees, one in business and the other in public administration from Georgia College and State University. My church affiliation is Springfield, Greater Springfield Missionary Baptist Church. Houston County has been a great place for my family to live and thrive over the years. I have much is given, much is required. My husband and I have done very well in
We'll give her just a second to see if she can resolve that connection issue. Okay, Mr. Towson, you can go ahead with your 1 minute introduction.
Yes, sir. Thank you all very much again for having us this evening. Very thankful for this opportunity. I am Tao Towton. I'm running in the House and County Commission post 4 seat. I am a 4th generation dairy farmer, born and raised here. It's where I met my wife. It's where I work. It's where I raise my kids. I'm very excited and eager to serve the people of this county and this post 4 commission. There's a lot of opportunity in this world. And, I firmly believe that Houston County holds everything that is required of someone to raise a family and educate their children and be successful in life. I'm very confident in my leadership skills, my dedication, and also the relationships that I have with the leaders and the citizens of this county and also surrounding counties. I feel like that's a key asset that will assist me in leading this county along with other commissioners into a brighter future to pave the way for the next generation.
All right, thank you all for your answers. Now, Mrs. Lee will ask the first question, starting with post 2 candidates.
Thank you. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer a question. The first part of the question is, what do you see? I think they're still coming in, so let me give it a moment. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer a question. The question, what do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure and infrastructure capital projects in Houston County? We will start with Mr. Gottwals, Mr. Ivester, Mr. Williams, and then Mr. Riley for post 2.
No, I mean, it's a wonderful question. And fortunately, we're starting to see some progress on what I think is the biggest need. And that's just, I mean, we've exploded in growth, and our roads were not designed to keep up with our explosion in growth. And fortunately, though, I mean, even just recently, knowing that the project at Houston Lake and Fagan Mill, there's going to be a widening there. I mean, that's one that I've gotten stuck in 100 times. We've all gotten stuck on Watson and Russell Parkway. So I think it's just that the roads. Fortunately, you got 2012 SPLOST dollars, 2018 SPLOST dollars. I never really understood SPLOST until a few years ago, and the importance of it. And hearing Chairman Stallnaker talk about these things and saying, you got to get on board with the SPLOST. It's so important. Well, it is when you know where the dollars are going and you know that it's going to have a real impact. Because the Houston Lake Road project at Fagan, I think it's like 2.6 million just by itself. I mean, just to get a couple of turn lanes and stuff. So this is some major money that doesn't come in with just normal revenue. So I would say it's that. I mean, you think about Atlanta. I mean, if I were mayor of Atlanta, what's my biggest infrastructure problem? Well, it's our roads and bridges, because me as a middle Georgia guy, I don't even want to go to Atlanta if I can avoid it at all possible, because it's just not worth it, right? I mean, your 1.5 hour trip can be 3.5 by the time it's all said and done. So anyway, I think that as we grow, we've got to meet some of those challenges head on with our roads and be prepared, because we don't know. Maybe one day we'll be knocking on the doorstep of Atlanta with our growth and with what we've done as a community. So again, thank you for the question. That's a good one.
Thank you.
So I also want to say, what a great question. It just shows how much it's testing our knowledge as a candidate for county commissioner, which I think is an absolutely great thing. I believe infrastructure is in great need. It's always in need. When you talk about the infrastructure, roads, traffic lights, stop signs, you're addressing public safety, and I am for public safety. We always need to keep the minds of the safety of our citizens at our number one priority. By doing so, when you invest into the infrastructure through SPLOST funds, you have to be very, very specific when you use SPLOST funds. I want to make that very aware to the citizens. So that has to be voted on by the citizens for the citizens. But you have to be, like for parks and recreations or road improvement. For instance, at the Houston Lake Lake Joy, the little parks on the side, that actually went under road improvements because it was a road improvement and it was an eyesore. So that was a great aspect. But also, it promotes small businesses. I believe infrastructure and small business are hand in hand through development and managing growth. So it's also very important we need to manage the growth responsibly, because I believe we're ahead of the game. You don't want to play catch up, because when you're playing catch up on infrastructure, you're never going to get ahead of the game again. So we always need to be ahead of the game versus behind it, kind of like Atlanta. I love Atlanta. I'm a Braves fan, but man, I cannot stand to get stuck in 75 traffic. And that's because I believe, we got behind the ball on some things. But here in Houston County, I'm proud to say I had a meeting with Tommy Sonaker and some of the other commissioners, and we have been ahead of the game. And I'm very, very proud of the work they have done, because it is the backbone of Houston County through Robins Air Force Base, as well as the small businesses. So great question. Thank you.
Okay. When you look at Houston County as a whole, we're experiencing some rapid growth right now. Excuse me. And the one thing that I think we sort of forget about, that we have a large rural area out there. And yes, we do need roads, but we also need water in those areas. We need broadband. There's some other services that we need down in the rural area, because our counties continue to expand in the southern part, and they don't have some of the best utilities down in that area. So that has to be something that we have to look at, because we are expanding and the growth is going south. The other part, I truly believe that we have to ensure the safety of our public officials, and the officers that public safety, the officers that are basically protecting our families. They have to have the right equipment and to help them do their jobs, but also to protect us. And not saying that we don't. I'm giving you an answer from a 50,000 viewpoint. I'm not there day to day. Our chairman, Tommy Stallings, has done a great job with our budget over the years, and those commissioners have done a great job. And they have basically put things in place that we can come in now and stand on their shoulders to guide our county to the next level. Well, we have Dan Perdue that's going to come in, and he's going to be the chairman, but it's going to be his vision. He's there day to day. He's going to be there in operations, working, understanding, talking with department heads. For me, as a part-time person to sit here and tell you this is what's important, I don't think I can honestly do that without talking with him and understanding his vision, because he's the full-time chairman. I'm there to support his vision of what he wants to do and make sure that we're successful as a county.
Thank you for those answers. I'm waiting for you.
You ready for me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Johnson.
Thank you so much. Before I start my answer, I want to make sure people understand. I went to Parkwood Elementary School, Northside Junior High School, when we had a junior high school, and Northside High School. So I said that to get to this. My most recent experience has been on the island Oahu in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I served on the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is in charge of the infrastructure for over 1.5 million people. And I can bring some very unique ideas through my personal experience. I also worked with the DeKalb board up when I was with the DeKalb board. One of the things that we've got to contend with is infrastructure in the broadest sense. I agree with the water. Water is life. We have to make sure that that gets completely handled throughout our county. Our roads are crucial, but we are at a crucial point in Houston County right now where we can become this massive mess, or something that people can look at as we need to follow this lead. We're every bit as crucial and active now as Macon Bibb. And so I think we need to start looking at broad sense of infrastructure, such as public transportation. Public transportation is going to be crucial in making sure that our county continues to grow and grow in an appropriate manner. Our roads have to be maintained. It is crucial that we make sure that the roads are smooth and easily navigated by vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians. We've already, in the northern part of the county, had too many people die this year based on traffic. And that's not okay. Our pedestrian, we just had one die not long ago. And that breaks my heart. One death is far too many. And so these are the things that I think we need to look at immediately. These are the low-hanging fruit on the tree that we need to address right here, right now. And so we'll get to the rest as the night progresses. Thank you.
Thank you all for your answers. Now let's hear from our candidates for Post 4. Post 4 candidates, we'll ask you the same questions as the others, and each of you will give your answers within a 2-minute time frame. The question is, what do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure and infrastructure capital projects here in Houston County? Ms. Rozier and then Mr. Dalton.
First of all, our roads and bridges do need some work. I understand I've attended the county commissioner meetings and am aware that there are some road expansion and road widening projects that are planned. The problem with infrastructure is that it does take a long time for things to happen. But then again, with the vision of the county commissioners, we can try to oversee what is going on with the particular traffic patterns in this city and in the county. Therefore, we can try to foresee the growth and try to get past some of the things that could happen. For example, it is very difficult to go on Houston Lake Road from the north side of town to get to Highway 96 at certain hours of the day. They're aware of that. But at the same time, though, was it that way a couple of years ago where we maybe could have used some SPLOST dollars a little earlier in order to try to prevent some of the things? I understand that there's now an Alberta Road expansion. I did see some cones at one time, but now the cones have disappeared. How long? And there's a lot of traffic as Robins Air Force Base gets off, that the corridor is very crowded. So we do need to become a little bit more proactive, realizing that we have we're basically limited on how we can use our SPLOST money because they have a specific purpose. But at the same time, though, we need to also be aware of the traffic patterns. And I do agree with some of the Post 4 gentlemen that stated that, or candidates that stated that we do need to also be concerned about utilities, water, sewage, as well as the broadband, because a lot of our students are in some times at a disadvantage because they don't have access to some of those utilities. So we're doing a great job, but that doesn't mean we can't be a little bit more proactive in what we do.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be honest with you. For what our leaders have been dealt, with this rapid growth, I think our commissioners and leaders, I think they've done an outstanding job. I don't know that I don't know if I have the answer, right now. I do believe I currently serve on the planning and zoning, and I think that has been a huge asset for me to kind of see firsthand what it takes, from somebody submitting an application for a subdivision or a new business. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, roads, that is one of the main topics that comes up, access to that, and location and turn lanes, egress lanes, stuff like that, but our guys do a great job, and it's for the growth we've seen. Like I've said, I think there's always room for improvement, but I think they've done a great job spending our tax dollars wisely. I think they're doing a great job. I can't say one key thing that I would change right now, But that's what I'm excited about is getting building a relationship with these guys to see what we need to do to move forward to stay ahead of this growth and continue on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. Now for your next question, starting with Mr. Talton and then Ms. Rozier. In 2 minutes or less, please share your experience with preparing and authorizing budgets. How would you ensure fair and equitable pay for personnel such as law enforcement, fair and equitable supplemental pay for prosecutors, and funding for programs for juvenile court? I can repeat it if you need me to. You were muted, Mr. Dalton.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, I am a farmer, a dairy farmer. If anybody understands the value of a dollar, it's a farmer, because we it's one of those things you let's see, it costs a lot of money up front. You're not always guaranteed what's on the back end, so you have to save wisely and spend that money wisely and prepare for good and bad times. I feel like we have to be competitive with our staffing, and you have to hire the right people and treat those people fair. We are short staffed right now. The sheriff's office and the jail is very short staffed, along with most other people right now. And I just feel like that. I feel like my experience with, like I said, we do have a dairy farm, and I do have employees, so I'm familiar with employees. And when you have good employees, you have to do what it takes to keep them, because a good employee is hard to replace. And I value them. And Houston County has been very blessed with good employees. And I just want to make sure that we have a fair environment for them to work in, and somewhere they can stay, and have a good retirement plan, and somewhere they can stay here when they retire, and just continue to have a great place for Houston County to grow.
Thank you. Ms. Rozier?
I've had plenty of experience with budgeting on the public side and the private side. As a matter of fact, at Robins Air Force Base, which is a public entity, we've had to come up with a lot of budgeting items dealing with manpower, dealing with capacity of buildings, dealing with the type of tools that we need for specific workloads, and also tying that in. Of course, we have wish lists in budgets. People will determine or try, hey, this is what I need, but then it does come down to, well, okay, that we know what you need. Maybe we can get you some of your needs. Maybe you can get some of your wants, but we need to get you your needs first. So you do have to do some planning. On the private side, I'm a tax preparer, and I'm also a budgeteer for my family. We have a small timber business that we buy and sell timber, and we grow timber. I'm sorry. And so the bottom line is you have to be concerned about your resources, your dollars, and those things that will make your business grow. But on the public side, there are some things that you can't necessarily do. If there's depot maintenance required on some aircraft, or here in Houston County where there's some repair work dealing with roads and bridges, you can't particularly say that you can't do that, because it depends on where the dollars are and also what dollars are allocated for that year. So in order to understand things, we have to be very mindful of the public trust in terms of budgeting, and also on the private side. So if we're not managing our assets on our private side, how can we be good managers of the public side?
Thank you both for your answers. It's been a pleasure to hear them. Let's hear from Post 2 at this time. We'll ask you the same questions as the others have been asked, and each of you will have 2 minutes or less to answer those questions. This time, we're going to start with Mr. Ivester, Mr. Williams, Mr. Gottwalls, and then I think we're missing Mr. Riley. Please share your experience with preparing and authorizing budgets. How would you ensure fair and equitable pay for personnel such as law enforcement, as well as prosecutors, and funding for programs for juvenile court?
So it's a very interesting question. You know, at 22 years old, I can say that I am a funeral director and embalmer apprentice at Heritage Memorial Funeral Home, which that takes a lot of different things. A lot of people think that, you know, funeral directors and embalmers, we just work with the deceased, and that's actually probably only 10% of my job. The rest of it is logistics, service budgets, logistic planning. When a family comes in, we get their budget, we kind of work with them. And then through that, you work through the logistic differences as much as you would with the Board of Commissioners, through the sheriff's office. That, like at the funeral home, we have to contact certain departments because of boundaries and jurisdictions, and because of funding, you see a little bit of the personnel issue, much as if you do in the funeral business, because of the fact of the matter, you know, employee recruitment and retention is an issue everywhere. But I think what is so interesting, me being at 22, is that I have that experience helping our management level come to those management meetings and say, hey, we need to come up with a budget. And how do we attack that budget appropriately to attack certain services through community relations, which is how you recruit employment recruitment and retention through the sheriff's office. You give them incentives to come work for the county. You need to let them know that, hey, you are our greatest asset. Let me invest into you, because that's all it's all about. It's letting people's voices be heard and giving them appropriate compensation when needed. And I think as a funeral director, you know, I can speak for hundreds of us, you know, it's a lot more detail oriented than what people want to give credit to. And it's a lot more time oriented. And I think as the Board of Commissioners, you're going to see that is how that knowledge correlates with the Board of Commissioners through indigent care funds and other items. So thank you.
Okay. Well, my first experience is growing up in Jones County with my mom and dad with 8 kids. We figured out how to have a budget during those times. So that's my first experience. But of course, if you're home, if you can't manage your own finances, then it's going to be tough to manage someone else's finances. Now, my background is banking. I spent over 36 years in the banking industry, and I had to create budgets for some of the offices that I managed when I was market president for the region. But also, even before I started banking, when I managed a retail store and I was looking at getting my own franchise back then, I had to create budgets and manage those budgets throughout the year. So I don't think it's anything new. I've served on the planning and zoning board for the last 12 years. So I know the intricacies of budget and working within the county. Now, I also chair several boards. I chair the Chamber of Commerce board, which we have to develop a budget there. Also, I chaired the Technical College board, which you have a board that at that time was over 16 million, and you have to basically prepare a budget and based on funds coming in from the state, tuition. Then also, I currently chair the Foundation board, which we have to develop a budget every year for that as well. I also treasure on many other organizations. So I think my financial background should share with most people. And I'm not mentioning all the organizations I basically served on, but I understand the budget, how to create one, but also more than that, how to live by one. And I think that's the hardest part when you want to do certain things and you don't really understand the intricacies of a budget and why you have it and what type of impact that you're going to have. Now, you said something about fair and equitable pay. That's why we have the Human Resources Department. I don't get into weeds when people are supposed to do those managers are doing their jobs. We have something critical that's coming up. We're going to be missing a person that's a CFO and also an administrator as we come into these positions. And I think we're going to have to search long and hard for someone with experience to basically who has experience to basically manage those areas. That's going to be critical for us. But the budget is set by the chairman along with the department heads. They basically put that budget together based on past performance, based on what future they have outlined. He's the full-time employee. We're the part-time commissioners. Basically, we'll review that budget with the chairman, but we ultimately approve that budget based on the work that they have done and submitted to us as commissioners.
And I've also seen, I guess from my perspective, just seeing it from different angles on different organizations as well. I mean, I'm the immediate past chairman for the Robbins Chamber of Commerce. Been on some nonprofit boards as chairman, but really it goes back, I guess, to our business because we've had to do budgeting when there was money and when there wasn't money. And with all these organizations that I've been a part of and have been responsible for millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of spending over these last 15 years, especially, I've learned that a budget is really just numbers on paper. I mean, your future forecasting, you're setting these parameters, they're guardrails, but a budget doesn't do you any good unless you are doing some aggressive things to make sure that the funds are going to be there to then spend that budget. And so I think that's probably been the biggest lesson that I've learned is that not just to look at, here's a list of items, not look at it as maybe, how some government spending might happen. Here's dollars, y'all spend them. If you don't spend them this year, you won't have the dollars next year. Well, that's just not a philosophy that I live by. And my encouragement to our department heads, you asked about the different departments, is, given a budget, and I think the attitude of these department heads seems to be, if we don't have to spend all those dollars that we were budgeted, we're not going to, because as long as we're all keeping the belt tight, that means maybe merit-based raises for county employees can come back into effect. They just did raises here recently, but in order to sustain all this, we can't just look at numbers that somebody typed up and approved and all that. I mean, we have to have it. We have to plan. We have to be smart about things, but we really have to get aggressive. And the answer comes in building a stronger community, building our roads and bridges, doing all the things that make this community exciting. And when we do that, rather than raising taxes, we do that sort of thing, that rising tide is going to raise all the ships and we all benefit for it.
Thank you. Mr. Riley?
Thank you so much. I am honored to say that, and I'm telling my age, but when I worked in the DeKalb Board of Commissioners, I worked hand in hand with the late, great, and very fun Hosea Williams when he was chairman of the budget for DeKalb County. And so I've had a lot of hands-on experience with county budget and operationalizing, getting it instituted, and cutting the fat where the fat needed to be cut, and so on and so on. I also worked for the Georgia Department of Corrections for many years. I was a therapist in the Georgia Department of Corrections at one of the prisons in Georgia. And so I know how important it is to make sure our first responders, our law enforcement, are duly compensated and respected and appreciated. So that's a big issue for me. We've got to make sure that we are paying enough to make sure that we retain them and not become just a job training program where they'll work and then use that experience to get someplace else. We have to train and maintain our employees. There's so many different aspects of the budgetary process I dealt with when I was vice mayor of my city in Hawaii. And you really have to work collectively as a group, working with Mr. Perdue to set the appropriate agenda for that. And so teamwork is going to be crucial. And so being able to work as a team from the onset to the conceptualization of the budget onward. And so that's my priority. Again, anything to do with education and public safety and seniors is going to be a priority for me dealing with the budget. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. At this time, Tucker will ask you your next question. I look forward to seeing you towards the end of this session.
I will start with Mr. Riley. I know you just went, but we'll start with you this time, and then Mr. Gottwals. Then Mr. Williams, then Mr. Gottwals, then Mr. Ivester. What goals or strategies would you put in place to collaborate with local municipality agencies, community partners, and nonprofit organizations to achieve common goals for the county? Each of you have 2 minutes to answer the question.
Wow, that's a tough question to answer in 2 minutes. I'll tell you some of the things that immediately resonate with me, and that is reaching out to the mayors of Centerville, Perry, Warner Robins, and all our outlying communities, the leaders in those communities. We have to do it as a family, as a team. Houston County is an amazing place. It's a family to me. And we have to get input from everybody in all aspects. I firmly believe that my experience having worked with a great deal of homeless issues in Hawaii, that's something I would like to see us work together as a community to contend with. We're starting to see more and more and more homeless, houseless individuals in Houston County. And we need to be able to address it now before it becomes something like we dealt with in Hawaii. We had one section where we had hundreds of homeless people, and I got together with the community leaders outside the spectrum of being the vice mayor, and we were able to get private and governmental funding to build tiny house communities that would address the homelessness. And I would like to incorporate some of those things from Pohoanua, Waianae here in Houston County, so that we don't go over the deep end and have horrible crime and issues related to that. And like I said, there are so many things to address with your question. This is just some of the initial immediate things that came to my mind. And I hope that gives you an idea of where I'm headed. I want to be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to what we need to do in the county. And I thank you so much, Tucker.
No, thank you. Mr. Williams, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Tucker. Well, the one thing that most people probably don't realize is that the chairman of our county commission already meets with the mayors on a regular basis, and they meet to discuss these issues. And they do it not only for the areas and for the mayors in Houston County, but they also incorporate some of the other mayors regionally as well as the county chairs. They meet as well and talk about what's great for this area. We're the largest MSA outside of Atlanta. And, we have to work together. I mean, we just had a big announcement about Jack Link's coming, providing 800 jobs. Well, those jobs are not just for Houston County. I mean, they're going to have folks coming up from Dooley County, from Peach County, from Bibb County, from Pulaski County, and beyond to work with them. We're needing a great workforce. So, for me to sit here and say, well, this is what I would do, I'm going to yield to my chairman because they're already meeting. Like I said before, this is more a part-time position for us commissioners that are running these posts. Chairman Dan Perdue is the one that's basically going to lead this charge. Now he's going to ask us for assistance, and I'm going to be there to help and to assist and to serve in whatever capacity that he needs me to. And that's what I think we have to look at, that we can talk from a 50,000 people about what we want, but I'm going to follow his lead because that's what other leaders do. They look for the person that's there day to day. He's there working the plan that's been set out that we've all agreed upon. And it's hard to do that when you're not there every day. You have to follow someone else's lead. He is our leader, and I'll continue to support him and whatever he needs me to do to basically make our county a better place.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Gottwals.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really surprised. I mean, pleasantly about how accessible it's already been mentioned, but our local mayors, the councilmen are. I mean, our commissioners. I mean, and that's what you really do have to get a sense of what the needs are, and not be a commissioner that goes to a couple meetings a month and sits in the comfy chair behind, on the platform and votes on stuff. I mean, you have to be a person who is of the people. And, you know, fortunately, these last 15 years, I mean, we've dealt with so many situations that are really on the ground. I mean, it's in the community, and we've been able to have, I feel like, an impact there, but also just to hear the stories. I mean, you talk to some of these nonprofits around here, and I could name them, but I don't want to, and then leave somebody out. But we've got so much good work being done. So, you know, keeping those open relationships with these organizations that are doing the good. I mean, just at one of the last commissioner meetings I went to, I mean, the county, all the county employees raised money for the United Way and gave the United Way a great big check. And I mean, it was just such a blessing to think, wait a minute, these commissioners are not just sitting back and building roads. You know, I mean, they are going deeper. I mean, they really care, and they're encouraging the employees to care. So that's, I think, what it takes. I mean, just keeping our eyes open. I mean, I think you get a position, get a title, you can just get so blind to what was actually important all along the way. And I just don't have any intention on doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Ivester.
So it's a great question, and it all comes back to collaboration amongst all city government and county governments in all of Middle Georgia, not just here in Houston County. Houston County, as Mr. Steve said, is the largest MSA outside of Atlanta. You know, we're also home to 164,000 people, and to me, that's 164,000 stories that have a story that's worth being shared and applied to Georgia's most progressive county. I know I've said it 100 times, but what can we do to make our relationships even better than what it already is now? And that's through collaboration. I don't want to come in rocking the boat. I want to work this as a full-time position, even though we're a part-time employee. I want to give all my effort and all of my, I want to go to bed exhausted knowing that I have served the citizens of Houston County with every bit of energy that I have. And I want to stand alongside soon-to-be Chairman Perdue, and because he's there day to day. He knows what has to be done. But can we implement a collaboration board amongst city government and county government to, hey, let's let the citizens see what needs to be done for, you know, a downtown development through Warner Robins or Centerville, as Perry has done? Can that be done through grants? Can the county help out and aid with that through grant writings? Can we invest a little bit more into the current homeless shelter here in Houston County? But what can we do to improve the relationships of our city and county government better than it already is? Because Houston County is great. We're not broken, and I don't see us breaking anytime soon. But I want to build off of the legacy that our current commissioners have laid upon all of 4 candidates that are currently seeking election. Unfortunately, you know, all 4 of us can't serve at one time because I believe we all bring forth a great wealth of knowledge and ideas. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, only one of us can serve. But I want the citizens to know that I want collaboration as it already is, but how can we improve the collaboration to address the needs of the citizen? Because we're serving the citizens. And in order to understand, you must give back and hear their story. So.
Thank you all for your answers. Now let's hear from post 4 candidates. And same question, starting with Ms. Rosier, and then we'll have Mr. Talton. What goals or strategies would you put in place to collaborate with local municipality agencies, community partners, and nonprofit organizations to achieve common goals for the county? You have 2 minutes.
Communication is very important in this regard because bottom line is if we're not communicating, if we're not collaborating with all those entities that you just mentioned, then of course there are going to be some gaps. And gaps cause problems. I've been out there and I've been talking to people. I've been talking to elected and appointed officials, as well as the community at large, trying to find out some things going on that we can make better. We do have a homeless problem. And the issue is to try to get ahead of it so that it won't become more of a problem. I mean, bottom line is they're there. They need services for whatever reason. They're a part of our community. They've chosen to be homeless in Houston County. Therefore, we have to do what it takes in order for them to get past some of the problems that they've experienced and maybe move on. I think that we can benchmark of some things that are going on in Macon Bibb with their warming center. There's also a church over on Houston Road that has opened up their doors in order to provide services and things of the homeless. And I think that the county can also venture into the public-private issues that will address that problem. Blight is a problem. Collaborating with the agencies as far as the 3 cities that we have, Perry, Warner Robins, and Centerville, finding the great, wonderful things they're doing in order to counteract some of the issues that they're going through. I mean, I've attended and will attend the city and the county commission meetings, and I've been doing that since I'm running. But at the same time, though, I go along with what Mr. Gottwald said. We need to be out there engaged. If we're saying that we're public servants, we can't just rely on one person. We have to also be a collaborative effort in the solution for this county. Therefore, the ideas, the experience, the education that I've got is going to be crucial. And I'm sure that he's going to be welcoming any ideas that I may have. And I have no problem benchmarking, because there's some great and wonderful things going on around in the middle of Georgia. Therefore, we need to try to take advantage of them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Towson, 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. I think there's a couple of things. I think number one, community involvement is huge. You have to get out there. I mean, our job as a commissioner, we work for the citizens of Houston County. It's very important that we listen. We have to listen is key. We have to be a set of ears to hear the voice of the concerned citizens and do our best as a team to meet their needs. It's not definitely not one thing that one can do on its own. I feel like that my relationships, both personally and professionally, with leaders in this community will be a huge asset in that as well. And like I said, teamwork. And, everyone matters. It doesn't matter your social status or your economic status. I mean, if you are a tax-paying citizen in this county, you matter, period. And my job is to work for them. It doesn't matter what they do or where they live, what neighborhood they live in. That's just my job, is to work for them. And that's what I'm going to do, because I love the people of Houston County. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll take a question from our live audience. We'll wait just a few seconds for that to come in. We don't have any just yet, so we'll move right along then. And Mrs. Lee will ask, actually, Mrs. Lee will take it away.
Thank you, Tucker. Audience, please notice there's a short forum link that's in the chat. We ask that you share your thoughts about your experience during this forum. And now, if we can see if we have any questions, Tucker, I think we can probably ask that question for them.
Yeah.
Here's the link. Tucker, do you have a question?
I don't have a question. I think the questions that Delta Sigma Theta have come up with are great questions. And I think also that in the intro statements that they very well lay out their platforms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we have a question. Organizations that receive 5% certification from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council are eligible for local victim assistance funding. Do you think that organizations that qualify should receive the support? We will give our candidates an opportunity to answer that question.
Would you like to start with the post-score candidates, back to our original schedule?
Yes, back to our original schedule.
Okay. Actually, our original, okay. We'll start with Ms. Rozier then, and then Mr. Talton, and then we'll go into the other race. Talton.
So we have post 2 on with us.
Oh, post 2 is on with us now. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we will start with Mr. Gottwalls, then Mr. Ivester, then Mr. Williams. I guess will be our order, and then
Mr. Riley.
Mr. Riley. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, this is it seems very straightforward to me, and I'm not familiar with this particular council, but I mean, it's laying out that there's a qualification process, and if you meet that, you're then supposed to get this funding. So I would assume, and I would think that there's no reason to say that the organizations that qualify would not receive it. So I'll leave it at that because I'm a little maybe clueless on this particular council.
So this is a very interesting conversation. As a funeral director, I can dive right into this. The Georgia Victims Assistance is done through the local DA's office, and I want to ensure that we keep that funding there for the families that are going through harsh crimes. The Victims Assistance is there to serve people that are going through very cruel crimes, capital murder, DUI, or they're just a victim of a serious crime. They're assigned an advocate, a victim's advocate. Through the very beginning of this case, and they're there to show you if there's any sentencing going on, when the court cases are, to help them prepare statements, as well as many people don't know that they actually fund funerals as well, a portion of it, and that is very, very important because of this matter. A lot of families, death it shakes people up as it is, but in the event of a cruel crime that comes forward, a lot of people don't know, hey, I don't know what to do, and that's when I get to come forward and say, Let's take a moment. You're actually about to be assigned an advocate from the DA's office. They're going to be getting in touch with you, and they're going to give you some funds. And I want to ensure the citizens have that, because that is a great resource tool to help counsel families, because a lot of people don't know what this program is or how it affects them through the court process. And this person is through them from the very beginning all the way to the end. And so this takes a very special individual. And I do not want to take funds to this. I would actually encourage let's add funds to this because it's a great program. That's kind of my remarks.
Okay, and I'm not that familiar with this either, but this is based on the last 2 gentlemen and what they shared. I think the first thing you got to do is how much funds are available, because I'm sure there's got to be a limit to it at some point. So we need to find that out. And I agree that if it's available and they qualify, they should receive the support. But how much is available and how many organizations out there are applying for it? So I'm not sure of that process right now. Who gets the funds? Who doesn't get the funds? Sounds like some get it and some don't. So until I was able to, I guess you can say, divest into looking into what's actually happened. This is a great question, but there's more information behind that I'm not aware of. So to give you an answer to say, yes, everybody needs to receive it, I couldn't give you that. I believe that it is valuable, it is viable, but I think you got to know how much of those funds are available and who are the organizations that are receiving it, and is it going to be enough to help those families? And I don't believe we should cut it. If that's the question, I believe that we probably need to have more, but I don't know that either, because I don't know what the budget's like at this point. And I think that's something that we have to look into.
Hello. Thank you, Ms. Todd, for that wonderful question. Absolutely, we need to be able to fund that. Organizations that qualify need to be funded. And it's cut and dry. It's very, very clear. If you qualify, the money needs to come to you. Unfortunately, there's so much red tape involved in things that the funding is slow, if ever getting to the proper organizations. We need to speed it up. We need to help it along. We need to make sure that that money shows up and in a timely fashion. And I hope that answers your question.
Again, please utilize the survey link that has been dropped in the chat box on all sites for social media. We have an additional question. It says, Houston County is known as Georgia's most progressive county. What are your thoughts on implementing a public transportation system in Houston County? Mr. Calton, would you like to take that first?
Yes, ma'am. I think that could potentially be something maybe one day in the future. I don't know if we're quite ready for that. Haven't really thought a whole lot about public transportation, but I mean, I definitely think if it's a concern of a citizen, I definitely think it's something that needs to be looked into. I just don't have a whole lot of information about that right now. But I mean, you know, you look at the way Houston County is growing, and it sounds like the way it's going to continue to grow. I'm sure there will be a need for that at some point. I just don't think right now is probably the time for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rosen?
When I first came to Warner Robins area, Houston County, 47 years ago, the first thing I needed was a car. I'm coming from Brooklyn, New York, where we had rapid transit, and to come to Warner Robins, the Houston County area, was a bit of an issue. But at the same time, though, realizing that I do agree with Mr. Talton that it may be a little bit premature. I know we had in Warner Robins the public transportation that you would see very, very few people using it. Maybe because they all have vehicles now, whether they feel like the roads and what have you are adequate for them to do that. But as long and maybe when they rolled out the public transportation, maybe they should have had more of a program that more encouraged it. I don't know, but at the same time, though, I do agree that maybe it might be a little bit too premature for a public transportation system in Houston County right now.
Thank you. We do have an additional question that we'd like to pose. And that question is, if new resources were available, what one area of county service would you feel most need additional resources?
For me?
Yes, ma'am. For you. My apologies.
Right now would be blight. Empowering our code enforcement to at least work with the private, realizing that blight deals with private property, working with them to see about getting something done about in that area, because there's a possibility maybe having a program that would encourage the owners to donate their land to or their property to the county or to any particular city, so that they can get off the tax rolls, would be more encouraging, so that would be repurposed for either green spaces, gardens, or what have you on the public level, or can be used for someone else to build a house. So to me, if we were to have some additional funds, that would be one area that I would look into, as well as having some additional funds for our seniors, especially since we are a growing county, that we have some tax burdens that could affect them. That we and I am aware that they do have some tax exemptions that are available for some of our seniors that they may or may not know about. So maybe publicizing some of those things that are available could be one way to get the word out.
Thank you, Ms. Rosen. Mr. Talton?
Yes, ma'am. I think safety is huge. Safety is very key to me. A big issue, a big topic for me. You know, safety, you can go on and on for days about safety, and kind of dominoes down the line. You know, if you don't have safety, if you don't have law and order, you don't have a successful county. I mean, it's not how you provide a place for people to come live and raise a family and even stay here after they retire. I mean, without safety, I don't think you have anything. So I would say safety, make sure like I said, our local law enforcement have the personnel, the staffing they need, especially with this growing county. I mean, you know, with good growth, you do have some bad with the good, and we have to stay on top of that. I know there's we're starting to see more crimes than we normally have, you know, but per capita we have the lowest anywhere around here, you know. But safety in the school, and also the school system. Like I said, you can go on and on all day about safety, how it impacts the county. And I think that's huge. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Tucker will now ask these questions to our other post candidates.
We'll start with Mr. Riley this time, then Mr. Ivester, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Gottwals. If new resources were available, what one area of county services would you feel most needs additional resources?
That's a tough question for me. When it's one area, when there's so many that need the extra help, I tend to believe law enforcement is crucial. I think we need to make sure our senior citizens feel safe. We need to make sure our younger people are safe. And so I would like to focus on that, but that is not to take away from the need for proper recycling programs, because that is going to become a major issue for us, is where are we going to put our garbage? Another area that we're going to have to look at is the public transportation. It is a great equalizer if you have public transportation, and it gives people so much more opportunity to proper health care and proper ability to take care of the home and get to work. So there's a lot of areas that need the help. But if I could only do one, it's going to have to be the law enforcement. I'm going to say public safety is crucial. It's by far what makes the county livable and safe. If you don't have a safe place to live, you're not going to be able to function and feel happy. And so that's crucial for me. Thank you.
So I think it's important that we address the fiscal year is about to come to an end on June 30th, and we have a budget here in Houston County of $159,196,651. So we are given this massive budget from June 30th to July 1st each year. But the thing is, you need to look at the budget to see which departments need some attention, and it always seems to be that public safety needs some attention. The 911 center. We have to balance a budget. In order to balance that budget, we need to see, okay, what can we address to fix this issue? Through the sheriff's office, through the detention center, we are seeing a low recruitment and retention. I mean, there's a national shortage on officers. In order to keep the citizens safe here in Houston County, I want to fully invest into public safety. I am for funding the police and funding the fire department. Because as we know, after 5 o'clock here in multiple areas of the county, after 5 o'clock, the county fire turns into a volunteer, minus 2 stations. And response times drastically go up. And that's through budgeting issues that we have to address that through the chiefs. And it comes back to collaboration. I would like to have a collaboration meeting with all departments through all the commissioners. And we can say, hey, what can we address to make public safety better than it is? Because as I have said, seconds saves lives. And I am not willing to put the citizens' lives into jeopardy under our administration, under any administration, past commissioners nor future commissioners. Public safety will be key for the future, for today and tomorrow.
Okay, well, we have a budget, and that budget is basically supporting every department that we have in Houston County. And what one area, to me, it would have to be public safety. But guys, just remember too that we just received $15 million from the CARES Act. And that $15 million came to Houston County, and it's going to be utilized for earmarked for utilities down in the rural areas. It's going to also, some's going to go for resources for public safety. And then some is going to basically be to expand the health department. I mean, if you look at it, that's exactly where it basically needs to go. And there's probably some left over, but there's some qualifications for nonprofits and those folks that want to qualify for some of those funds. But public safety has to be at the top of the list. I mean, we have a shortage right now, and these men and women put their lives on the line every day, whether it's out on the road, whether it's at the jail, detention center, and that's got to be something that we have to take a serious look at, because wouldn't you want your son or daughter or your mom or dad basically have be safe out there on the road, because they don't have no idea what's going to happen. They have the right equipment, have the right resources. That's vital for us to have, I guess, support that as strongly as we can. You know, when you think about it, those officers really are serving at the highest level to ensure our safety, our family safety, my children's safety. I don't have to watch my back going into a store. Their presence is there all around us. It's not just Houston County. You have the Centerville Police Department, you have the Warner Robins Police Department, you have the Perry Police Department, and then you have the Georgia State Patrol. So we have a great law enforcement. They just needing some help and additional resources to help them do their job better to protect us.
And then, yeah, I mean, Mr. Touton started us off on the right track, and many of us have echoed this about public safety, law enforcement funding. But just so I don't say the same thing everybody else did, I'll give my close second, I guess, and that's just plain and simple county employee compensation. And we've learned that really the hard way, just as a business, just trying to keep our bookstores competitive, doing the best we can just to raise pay as often as we can. Yeah, just it's I've said it probably too many times, but it's so much easier to keep an existing employee that's getting the job done happy than it is to try to replace them after they've left for greener pastures. So there are limited resources, but I feel like the county and the employees that I've talked to and the department heads I've talked to really understand it. Like, they know that there's a limit. But if we just ended up with a bunch of money, and I could just wave my wand after public safety, I'd say we've got to elevate everybody who deserves it, merit-based compensation increases, and keep that consistent to make sure we maintain these long-standing relationships with our employees.
Thank you, Mr. Gottlaws. I'm going to turn it over now to Mrs. Lee.
Hello. So we have had a wonderful experience with you all tonight. We hope that the constituents that are charged with making the selection for you have received information that allows them to do just that. In our closing, we'd like for each candidate to take about 1 minute to give final remarks and comments. And we'll start with Mr. Riley.
Thank you again, Delta Sigma Theta, and everybody for having us here tonight. It's so crucial that we be actively involved in this process. I am so grateful to be able to stand up here today and tell you that I want to represent you. I want to do the job so that you don't have to go down to the meetings and do it yourself. I have the ability to hit the ground running. I have worked in county commissions before. I've worked in city government as a publicly elected official, and there will be no on-the-job training for me. I'm the guy that can get it done, and I can reach across party lines. I can reach across the aisles and make sure your voice is heard. I have a long documented history of fighting for the underrepresented and the disenfranchised. And I will make sure your voice is heard. I've always said, you and I don't have to agree on an issue, but your voice has to be heard. Whether I agree with it or not, I'm going to make sure that they hear your opinion. And that's what this whole process is about, is making sure that your opinion and your wants and desires are heard so that they can be addressed appropriately. And I hope that I will be able to make you feel comfortable with your choice, is having me as your county commissioner. And I love this county. I've been here since I was a little guy. And I'm so glad to be back home where my family matters. And my family is not just my biological family, but my family of Houston County citizens. And so thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. And thank you, Delta Sigma Theta. Go Red.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Ivester, would you please give us your 1-minute remark?
So I wanted to be clear that I am a proud Houston County citizen, and I want to build off of the legacy of our previous Board of Commissioners because they have done a phenomenal job on being dealt the cards they've been dealt with. And I'm going to kind of give you a quote that Mandy Hale once said: "Change can be scary, but you know it's scarier allowing fear to stop you from growing, evolving, and progressing." I do not want the citizens to be scared of growing, evolving, and progressing. I am representing something so much larger than myself. I am representing 164,000 people that have a story that's worth being shared and being heard, to knowing they can address their commissioners. We are approachable people. I am comfortable with the level of service each of us are bringing forth. But I want to let people know that the next generation is ready to serve. Don't be scared because of my age. It's time to invest into our youth and let the youth have a voice in the growth in Houston County. And I want to say thank you to each of the Board of Commissioners because you have laid the legacy that I'm proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivester. Mr. Williams, 1 minute.
Okay. Well, it's been an honor to be here with you, and thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for putting this on. And guys, you know, I'm just a young man that came to Houston County, got married, moved here, and I had many people welcome me in Houston County and ask me to start serving at many capacities. And folks like, and he's no longer with us, but Cheryl Stafford and Tom McMichael and Barbara Shaheen and George Slappy and Dr. Ronald Adams. And just a few others. And that's what made this, I guess, a welcoming family for me. And it's become a family. Not only do I continue to serve in many capacities, and I'm not going to go through my resume and show you all the places I've served. I mean, you can look on our website to see that I have a vast experience in just about every area of serving in Houston County in different array of industries. And I think that's what makes me the best qualified candidate. Not only that, I have relationships with also the municipalities, with the governments, with the legislator, all over the county, with different folks from different cultures, backgrounds. It's been a blessing for me just to serve, to put on those financial education classes for churches in the area, and do this out of the just be willing to serve because they asked, not to just serve because I'm running for office. I've been doing this because it's a way of life for me, and it's been awesome. And I'm going to address something else because there was a question we didn't get a chance to mention, was transportation for our group, and what do you think about it? Yeah, it is time for that. In fact, I was the person back in when I was chairing the Chamber of Commerce that actually sat down with a company located out of Ocala who provided transportation for that city, which was about the same size as Warner Robins at that time. And they were willing to come up and do a presentation for us. They actually provide the services for the University of Georgia. So, and they get federal grants. You have to have a transportation authority to put that in place. But I brought that back to the leadership, and they at that time they were just not ready to do that and implement that. But I think it's time. We're a larger population now than Macon Bibb County, and we could use some public transportation. Not everybody has a car, and it's also going to help Robins Air Force Base with clean air. They are trying to reduce the number of cars that go on that base because it does cause a lot of pollution when you have 25,000 employees driving their own cars on the base. And if they can find a way to do that, it's going to impact our county in a tremendous way. So I want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to talk, to share, and to also vote for Steve Williams, because I was not only built to serve, and although I was, it's not for my benefit. It was for all those folks that needed help. And I'm willing to continue to help regardless of the outcome, because that's my way of life. And you can definitely feel safe with Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Gottwalls, if you would.
Yeah, I'll make it kind of personal. You know, I'm obviously my livelihood is in books, and and what do books do for us? I mean, they tell us stories, they open us to different perspectives, different cultures, and that's what I love about Houston County is we're just so diverse. I mean, what y'all been doing as a sorority, I mean, you've been doing this for 30 years as a chapter, or over 30 years now as a chapter. You've got nonprofits that have been around, all this. My church is part of the fabric of it. My kid's school is, but the Morris Bank that Steve's at, the funeral home that Zach's at. I mean, just go on and on and on. Like, we're all part of, kind of what we do as a business. I mean, we're presenting all these stories, but you can walk into our bookstore and pick something from one shelf one day and then pick something from a different shelf the other day. And I feel like that's what Houston County gives us. It gives us such a broad diversity of thought, perspective. It's just a wonderful fabric, right? I mean, we're privileged. I mean, and I don't know if we always quite realize just how privileged we are to be in Houston County. And if you have an attitude like that regarding what we're all about, last thing I'm going to do is mess any of that up. And I'm seeking the best for this community, and I want to be the best kind of servant I can possibly be. So again, I appreciate y'all letting us do this tonight and getting letting our voices be heard with the voters.
Thank you to each of you for joining us and sharing your ideas as well as your goals with the residents of Houston County. It is our hope that you will watch the forum in its replay mode on one of our social media channels, and that you'll consider the issues that our audience wanted more information on, such as homelessness and mental health. We appreciate your willingness to serve our community. And now we will ask for final remarks from Post 4 candidates with Tucker.
Yes, in closing, the same for the Post 4 candidates. Each of you will have 1 minute to give final remarks and comments. We'll start with Ms. Roser and then Mr. Towson.
Yes, thank you again for you, Tucker, and also for Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I love this county. I want to serve. I've been blessed with the county for all the years that my family has been in it. I want to get to know and have been getting to know the residents better, and I want them to get to know me better. And I just want to be the servant that I am supposed to be. I'm a blood donor, and we face a critical need for blood donors. As an elected official, that effort could be more publicized so I can be an example for others to roll up their sleeves and donate blood. And also to participate in the keep beautiful community projects that we have in the area, because I don't mind getting my hands dirty. Also attending and being active in the city officials, and also definitely keeping our law enforcement and public safety people as the forefront of this county. And also, I just want to put out there that I do play pickleball. So those of you who love that sport, it's a very interesting sport. And with that, I encourage you to vote for me on May 24th as the best candidate for Post 4. Thank you.
Mr. Towson.
Yes, again, thank y'all for allowing us this opportunity. Thank you so much for your questions as well as the audience's questions, so we can hear the voice of them as well, because that, like I said, is our job. A couple of things I want to touch on. We've talked about the county and what we'll do for the county, but I want to touch on a few things that are very personal to me and have helped get me where I am. Number one, my faith. I wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for the calling, and the Lord on my heart. To do this, we were all put on this earth to be servants, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And number two is my family. I cannot do this without the support of my family, my wife of 13 years and my 2 kids. This is not a sacrifice just for me. This is a sacrifice for my wife and kids, because this will take time away from my family, which is very important to me. And the profession that I have is very limited. We have a dairy farm this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's just, my time is very thin. So for them to allow me to do this, I could forever be thankful for them for that. And also my friends and my supporters through this process. Never done this before, never ran for anything. So I just want to say thank you to those people. Obviously, without them, this would not be possible. It's just overwhelming the support that I have felt and been given in this community. And that's probably my number one reason. I feel like I'm doing myself as well as this county injustice by not running and giving back to who has made me and made me what I am, what my family is. So I'm very thankful for that. And once again, thank you all for what you do, and have a good night. And
Well, thank
remember
you.
to vote May 24th. Tal Talton, Houston County Commissioner, Post 4.
Thank you all, and thank you all for watching and joining us as well. And thank you all the candidates for sharing your ideas and goals with the residents and voters of Houston County. As we share with the other candidates, it's our hope that you will watch the forum replay and consider the other issues our audience wanted more information on, such as homelessness and mental health. We appreciate your willingness, candidates, to serve our community.
On behalf of the Warner Robins Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and our forum co-sponsor, Black Voters Matter, thank you again to my fellow moderator, Tucker Sargent, our candidates, and audience for your participation in our virtual Meet the Candidates. At this time, it is our hope, we really want you to understand that we put this on so that the voters can make well-informed decisions as they prepare to vote during this election season. Please join us again on Tuesday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. for the virtual Houston County Board of Education Meet the Candidates Forum. We appreciate your time tonight, and we hope that you enjoyed it.
And you can early vote May 2nd through the 20th, or on Election Day, Tuesday, May 24th. You can find your voter registration status and poll location at mvp.sos.ga.gov. And remember, your vote is your voice. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.